Welcome back to Old Charles, your channel for rare coins, history, and value insights. Today, we're diving deep into the story of the United States 1-cent coin from 1961, also known as the Lincoln Memorial Cent. We'll explore its value, long history, and how condition affects its worth. So stick around, because even a common-looking penny can hide some surprising details. Let's start with the history. The 1961 1-cent coin belongs to the famous Lincoln Cent series, which first appeared in 1909 to celebrate the 100th birthday of Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States. Designed by Victor David Brenner, this coin was the first U.S. coin to feature a real historical figure instead of symbolic images like Liberty. Asterisk features the portrait of Abraham Lincoln with the words, "In God We Trust," on top, Liberty on the left, and the date star 1961 star on the right. At that time, the reverse showed the Lincoln Memorial, a design introduced in 1959 to mark the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. If you look closely, you can actually see a tiny statue of Lincoln inside the memorial, a very unique detail. Now, let's talk mintage. In 1961, the U.S. Mint produced these coins in massive numbers. The Philadelphia Mint struck over 753 million coins, and the Denver Mint, marked with a D, produced over 1.7 billion coins. That's a total of more than 2.4 billion pennies. Clearly, this was not a rare year, but as we know, condition and errors make all the difference. So, how much is a 1961 penny worth today? Let's break it down. Most 1961 pennies that you find in your change are only worth 1 to 3 cents, just slightly above face value, because of their high mintage. A coin in mint state, bright and red in color, can be worth $1 to $5 depending on grade. If your 1961 penny is graded MS-65 or higher, collectors may pay between $15 and $50. The U.S. Mint also made 3 million proof coins in 1961. These have a mirror-like finish and can be worth $15 to $40, depending on quality. Some 1961 pennies are highly valuable if they contain mint errors, such as double dies, off-center strikes, or clipped planchets. These errors can raise the value dramatically, sometimes even into the hundreds of dollars if certified by grading companies. Now, condition plays the biggest role in a penny's value. Let's look at the categories. Worn-out coins, brown in color, with scratches and fading details, usually remain at face value. These coins still have clear details, but they show signs of use. They may fetch a few cents above face value. Shiny coins with full original luster are most desirable. Collectors specifically look for coins that are graded red, RD, because copper coins naturally tone to brown over time. A bright red 1961 penny is much more valuable than a brown one. Proof pennies are struck with special dies and polished blanks, giving them sharp details and a mirror-like background. These coins were not made for circulation but for collectors. A proof penny in PR67 or PR68 can be worth $40 or more, so the 1961 United States 1-cent coin may not be the rarest penny out there, but it carries a rich history tied to Abraham Lincoln and the U.S. Mint's tradition. In circulated condition, it might only be worth a few cents, but in uncirculated or proof condition, especially with errors, its value can rise significantly. Always check your coins carefully, because sometimes a tiny detail can make a huge difference in price. We're taking a deep dive into the history, value, and condition of the United States 1-cent coin from 1961. This coin is part of one of the most famous coin series in U.S. history, the Lincoln Cent. So, let's explore where it came from, why it was made, and how it has changed over the decades. Asterisk the story of the 1961 penny doesn't just begin in 1961. It actually stretches back to the early 1900s, when the United States Mint made a historic change in coin design. Asterisk in 1909, to celebrate the 100th birthday of Abraham Lincoln, the U.S. Mint replaced the Indian head cent with a new Lincoln Cent, designed by Victor David Brenner. This was a huge milestone, because until then, American coins mostly used symbolic figures like Liberty instead of actual people. For the first time, a real U.S. president appeared on a circulating coin. From 1909 to 1958, the reverse side of the penny featured 2 wheat stalks framing the words, 1 cent. Collectors call these coins wheat pennies, and they became iconic during the Great Depression and World War II, circulating heavily during those times. In 1959, the Mint made another historic change. To celebrate the 150th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, the reverse design was changed from wheat ears to the Lincoln Memorial, created by Frank Gasparo, who later became chief engraver of the U.S. Mint. This design was symbolic because the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C. itself honors Lincoln's role in preserving the Union during the Civil War. By 1961, America was in the early years of the Cold War, with John F. Kennedy serving as president. The Lincoln Memorial cent was still relatively new, having only been in circulation for 2 years. The 1961 pennies were struck in enormous numbers because the U.S. economy was booming, and the penny was still heavily used in everyday transactions. Shows Abraham Lincoln's portrait, with "In God We Trust" above his head, "Liberty" to his left, and the year 1961 to his right. If struck in Denver, it carries a small D mint mark below the date. Shows the Lincoln Memorial, with the words "United States of America" on top, "E pluribus unum" above the memorial, and 1 cent below. If you look carefully, you can actually see the tiny statue of Lincoln seated inside the memorial, an incredible detail for such a small coin. The 1961 penny was made of 95% copper and 5% zinc and tin. This traditional bronze composition had been used for decades, and collectors today appreciate these older copper coins because of their weight, color, and durability. In fact, modern pennies are mostly zinc, so the pre-1982 copper cents are worth slightly more for their metal content. In 1961, the U.S. Mint struck an incredible 2.4 billion pennies. Philadelphia Mint, 753 million with no mint mark. Denver Mint, 1.7 billion with a D mint mark. Proof coins, 3 million, specially made in Philadelphia for collectors. With such high numbers, the 1961 penny was never considered rare, but this also means high-grade examples are harder to find today because most went into circulation and were heavily used. The 1961 penny falls within the Lincoln Memorial Cent Series, 1959 to 2008, which lasted for nearly 50 years until the Mint switched to the Lincoln Bicentennial Series in 2009, marking the 200th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. So when you hold a 1961 penny, you're not just holding a small piece of copper. You're holding a chapter of American history that connects Abraham Lincoln, U.S. Mint design changes, and the everyday life of Americans in the early 1960s. When it comes to coin collecting, condition is everything. 2 pennies from the same year can have completely different values depending on how well they've been preserved. Let's break down how condition affects the 1961 penny in great detail. At the lowest grade, a 1961 penny may be so worn down that Lincoln's features are barely visible. The date and lettering may be faint or nearly gone. These coins usually carry only face value, since collectors don't often seek heavily worn examples unless it's a very rare year, which 1961 is not. At this level, the coin is still heavily worn, but Lincoln's bust is visible and the date is readable. The reverse still shows the Lincoln Memorial outline, though details are flattened. Value remains at or slightly above face value. Here, more details of Lincoln's hair and coat show up, and the lettering is clear. On the reverse, you can still make out most of the columns of the Lincoln Memorial, though worn. These coins might sell for a couple of cents above face value. In this condition, the coin still shows wear from circulation, but most major details remain visible. Lincoln's cheek and jawline are sharp, and the Lincoln Memorial details are more distinct. Value might rise slightly, but still modest, around 3 to 5 cents. These coins show only light wear on the highest points. Lincoln's hair detail is mostly intact, and the Lincoln Memorial columns are clear. A coin in this condition may attract collectors filling coin albums, valued around 5 to 10 cents. This is where the 1961 penny's value really comes to life. Coins in this range have no signs of wear, but may have many bag marks, dull luster, or spots from poor storage. Value is modest, around 50 cents to $1. These coins are sharper, with better luster and fewer marks. Collectors will pay between $1 and $5 coins at this level are bright, well struck, and nearly flawless. The red color of the copper is vibrant and attractive. Prices jump to $15 to $50. Very few 1961 pennies exist in this high grade, certified by professional grading services like PCGS or NGC. If you find one, its value can go into the hundreds of dollars, especially if it maintains a strong red color. Copper coins like the 1961 penny naturally change color over time, and collectors value them differently based on color. The most desirable. These coins retain their original fiery copper red shine, just like when they were minted. A 1961 penny graded MS 65RD can fetch several times more than the same coin in brown. These coins show a mix of red and brown surfaces. They are less valuable than full red, but more valuable than fully brown coins. The most common, as copper naturally tones to brown. Brown coins, even in high grade, usually bring lower premiums. The U.S. Mint struck about 3 million proof pennies in 1961 at the Philadelphia Mint. These were not made for circulation but for collectors, and their condition is often exceptional. Some proof coins show a frosted design with mirror-like fields, known as cameo or deep cameo. These are scarcer and more valuable. Standard proof $15, $30 graded as PR instead of MS, ranging from PR 60 up to PR 70. A flawless PR 70 coin is extremely rare and highly sought after. Collectors also pay close attention to errors: double die obverse/reverse, DDO/DDR, doubled lettering or date. Off-center strikes ***, part of the design missing due to misaligned strike. Clipped planchets ***, a portion of the coin is missing. Die cracks and cuds, raised lines or blobs due to worn dies. Even in lower grades, these errors can make a 1961 penny worth hundreds of dollars if certified. Most of the 2.4 billion pennies minted in 1961 went into circulation, meaning that true high-grade examples are scarce today. Collectors specifically seek red gem mint state coins because they represent the coin as it looked the day it left the mint. For serious collectors, a certified coin from PCGS or NGC adds extra value and assurance. When it comes to the 1961 penny, don't just look at the year. Look at the details. Look at the color, look at the luster, and look for signs of errors. The difference between a coin worth just 1 cent and one worth hundreds of dollars comes down to condition and collectability.